Hello everyone and welcome to Trending Topics Live, our video interview series where we explore the trending topics of today. Ever since we were faced with the global pandemic situation, we are talking about new normal which spreads pretty much across all areas of our lives, from what we do online to how we conduct business and of course working, as this is a huge part of it. With the new remote mode, and not only, but primarily with this, we see the relationships between companies and teams and employees changing. But now exactly, and it's interesting, how are they changing? And this is what we are going to be discussing today. So I've invited someone who is quite familiar with the matter of human capital. My guest today is Maria Atanasova, the Human Capital Director for Europe, Middle East, and Asia at Progress, and she is responsible for the overall employee experience and HR development in the three major offices in Bulgaria, the UK, and the Netherlands. Maria has been part of the HR team at Progress and Telerik back then since 2010. And after Progress merged with Telerik in 2014, Maria took the role of the Global Human Capital Business Partner for the entire Progress Engineering Group, or about 800 people. Maria has extensive experience in the full spectrum of human capital management, as well as in leading the research, assessment, and development of key global company initiatives such as the Progress Employer Branding, Global Trend, Talent Acquisition Philosophy, and Candidate Experience Journey. I'm quite excited to dig a bit deeper into this topic exactly now. So without further ado, hi Maria.
Hi Alex. It's really nice to be with you here today.
Yeah, happy to have you and to explore those interesting topics right now. So how have been the past several months at Progress? I think that's the most burning question right now.
Yes, I think even ourselves, we're looking back and we're looking to see what went great and unexpectedly great, and what are still the areas that we need to improve now that everybody's still at home. It's really interesting because one of the biggest learning points for us was everybody talks about social distancing and people are not in one place and they cannot work together, but at the same time we found out that actually we become closer and closer to the people we work with because we get a sneak peek of their personal life, be it the apartment, be it the kids who run around and always are part of our meetings. We created much more different opportunities actually to get together virtually, informally, and that's really, really exciting. So I think the positive is we became closer without expecting to become closer. And I think the other learning point for us is definitely the way we support our colleagues, our newcomers, and our employees overall. Now virtually is definitely shifting what trainings we offer, how we support them even with benefits and perks now that we're not in the office. So there's a big focus on what companies now offer, and Progress in particular, to actually support the people in that environment.
Yeah, right. There are so many topics inside this bubble of how we will be working, and yeah, it's quite exciting to explore all of them. But let's start with the first things. You are probably the person who knows Progress and back then Telerik best from the inside. You grew there from a trainee to a director position, so you know every single detail, I bet. And during the big reset, you talked about employee value proposition. Can you explain the concept a bit and how it actually differs from corporate values?
I'll be happy to. Yes, I'm one of those lucky people who grew within the company, grew with the company, you name it. And one of the major, I think, accomplishments for the last couple of years that was part of the big employer branding initiative we started 2017 was creating that employee value proposition. When we I'll take a step back and I'll share with you a little bit about the vision of employer branding and how EVP fits with that, and then I can share with you how we see the difference, at least in my mind and in Progress, between the corporate values and the employee value proposition. Employer branding is a concept that now is for the past couple of, I don't know, even decades in Bulgaria has been trending and coming into life, and a lot of companies are approaching employer branding through different perspectives. In my mind, and through reading and meeting with a lot of people about employer branding is combined, it's a combination of the image of the organization that the company portrays outside, and it's that controllable piece of the employer branding that you can achieve through social media and through your corporate brand and through formal initiatives you're undertaking. But there is another very important aspect of it, which is the reputation of the company. What is that thing that people talk about, share about the company, that is outside of your control? Because the employer brand and the employer image of the company is a combination of those two, the piece you can control and the other reputational side, which drives and comes from the employees themselves. And when we started exploring employer branding, one of the major elements that really struck us and something we wanted to develop for our Progress company is the employee value proposition. This is our employer part of the employment contract. Imagine this is what we promise as a company to you, that you can find with us, and you can be sure to find with us, regardless of which team you start to work with, regardless in which location, regardless in which office. This is basically our promise to you as an employee, as a potential employee, that this is our value proposition to you if you start working for us. On the other side, the corporate values, or at Progress we call them maxims. Those are the behaviors that are expected from everybody across the board so that the company is successful. Those behaviors formulate the culture, and those behaviors, in a way, is your promise to us, right? That you would, live them and accept them and grow with the company, because those are our values and those are our behaviors. So it's, for me, those are the two pieces of the same coin in my mind.
Right, interesting. So, can we summarize what this Progress's employee value proposition? If we have to put it in 2 sentences, what is it?
So after a long journey of developing it, going through different stages and conversations with numerous people across the company, and I'm happy to say it was built from the ground up, from the employees who helped us develop the employee value proposition. We have 3 pillars that we based everything, our processes and HR programs, our recruitment process. The first is teamwork over individual brilliance. We promise that everybody will definitely find an environment where teamwork is at the highest level of appreciation, and you will see it in everyday conversations. The second one is transformation is in our source code, meaning that the industry, the company, the way we work, we change, we evolve. Vesco Kolev definitely talks about growth mindset, which is definitely embedded, and innovation, which is definitely embedded in that transformation. And the last piece is even the best keep getting better, because we aspire and we hire some of the best talent, not only in Bulgaria, but across the board. But we also want them to expect that in Progress, you should be becoming better every day, right? You work with the best, so you should be able to be humble when you can, and also keep learning and excelling at your skills. So that's the 3 elements of our EVP.
Right. We'll talk a bit more about culture in a minute. I was actually about to ask you, but I think you pretty much answered the question. What does employer branding mean to you, and how it differs from classical HR activities and classical branding activities?
Yeah, the only thing that comes to mind that I missed maybe sharing at the beginning that I can add now is I see a lot of companies separating the HR activities from employer branding. They either put employer branding into the hands of marketing only, or employer branding into just social media and that image size of the equation that I mentioned to you. What is really important for us is employer branding should be showing internally through everything that we do as an employer, and we have promised the people to find. So all the HR programs, processes, everything that we create, even from an imagery perspective, from the language that we use, how we even go to market internally with what we create as a team, our benefits package, we validate everything that we do through those three pillars, right? Is it encouraging and helping teamwork? Is it helping us become better and transform? And is it flexible enough so we keep transforming? And is it helping people to become better, to excel, and to find opportunities for growth? So I think that's how employer branding really connects with the classical HR activities by being the sounding board for everything that we do as HRs. And also it relates to the corporate brand, because you need to work with the marketing and corporate marketing organizations to create that image that's in alignment with the corporate values and with what the company is saying outside.
All right. I'll break my scenario for the second time now because I really have a burning question here.
Yes.
HR departments are kind of neglected in the IT business, and developers are looking at the HR as like, this department, I don't know what they're doing. What do you, however, enjoy most about your work, and how do you see your role in the whole structure?
I think one of the reasons I actually stayed for so many years at Progress is exactly how I feel as a professional in my company and how the job and my team are perceived by other people in the company. And I can say with confidence that human capital at Progress is a true partner to the employees. Yes, we learned how to become those partners. We took a lot of feedback through the years, but now we're everything that we do, we validate it with the people, because the biggest value that an HR team can bring is deliver something that's relevant for the organization that people want, not just doing what's trendy out there or what other companies are doing for the sake of staying competitive. That's why we do a lot of workshops. We talk to the people, we take their feedback through numerous channels. So when we deliver something, right, it's something that they wanted, not something that they don't use, but yeah, we tick the box and we say, yeah, we have this and we have this. And I'll use Vesco because he was part of the conference as well. He grew up with me and the company as well. I remember him since my day one. And when we work together, through his engineering mindset, he has always managed to challenge me and say, why is this important to me, Maria? It's a great idea, right? This HR initiative is amazing. Why should I do it? So he helped us really see, and all of the people like him that we work every day to see that point of view. And now the way we launch our programs is the way the engineering team launches their products. We talk about the customer persona, we talk about the go-to-market plan, why is it important for the people, how are we communicating it? So we borrowed a lot of their ways of working and embedded it in how HR operates with Progress so we can be relevant for them.
Cool. Actually, quite cool approach. We'll continue talking about the near past, actually, because it's a big part of the story and how things came and became what they are today. So back in 2014-15, when Telerik became part of Progress, you have been part of quite exciting period for the company, a total rebranding, the merge, the cultures, and so. Can you share a bit more about it? How was it from the inside, and how did you approach the situation from the perspective of organizational development?
Yeah, it's one of those moments in my career which I remember vividly, regardless how many years we go past that moment, just because it was I think a big learning point for everybody. When the acquisition happened, actually it was more perceived as a merger, even from both sides, including Progress, just because we were a similar sized organizations when it comes to number of people. Progress was around, I think, 900 people and Telerik was 750, right? So it was an acquisition in the sense of they really bought the company and the talent and everything, but the way we approached the organizational integration and development was like a merger. We gave it some time. We looked into the two organizations, what each of them is bringing in the sense of knowledge and practices and programs, why. And we actually took a year and a half to really understand how best we can work with the two cultures and with the two companies to come up with the best possible path forward, including the employer branding. Because at that point in time, as you said, we were going through strategy changes, product innovation changes, corporate rebranding. And at some point, my world, where I was coming from, which is the Telerik side of the company, we were feeling and seeing and hearing the identity crisis that the people were experiencing, the colleagues were experiencing, myself included. Because Telerik was rebranded once before the acquisition. We changed our motto and we changed our logo a little bit. Then Progress came. For a year and a half, we were Telerik by Progress, right? Until we figure out who we are truly. Then we became Progress with a new logo and, you know, best of both worlds type of a combination. And people internally and externally was asking, so what's the different now? What's changing? Is that completely Progress? Where is Telerik and everything? And I remember 2016 and beginning of 2017, we have this annual, now biannual engagement survey that measures different factors within the culture of the company and the employee engagement. And one of the factors we measure traditionally is employer branding. At that point, the favorable responses for that particular factor was 46%. So out of the 100% of the population who filled in the survey, only 46% were understanding who we are from an employer branding perspective and knew what the image of the company is. So we had a huge gap we needed to start looking into. And I'm happy to say this year, January 2020, that factor was 86%. So through the last 3 years of work, we managed to actually end the EVP and the employer branding to really communicate well, and people are understanding who we are as an employer. So that was really interesting for us to start that journey, and we took a lot of efforts. I mentioned during the conference and my conversation there, it was 9 months of research and conversations with employees, because we did workshops with them, with different people who were with different backgrounds, different companies that were acquired through the years in the company. Because one of the main factors of a great EVP is for it to be really true, regardless, it shouldn't be aspirational. It should be true today. It should be sustainable, meaning regardless of the products we develop or the CEOs that are coming on board, it should be true. You should be feeling it should be sustainable, and it should be credible. You should back it up with processes and examples and the survey data and so on and so forth. So we took our time to have a lot of conversations with employees before we actually formulate who we truly are as a company.
I really like that, to be true before it's inspirational, and I think that's a quite important message here, because there are many companies that try to be super inspirational and promise you whenever, and at the end you are faced with a situation that is just not true. I really appreciate that. Right. You touched upon the culture question several times, and without alignment with the organizational culture, there is much that can go wrong. And probably not everything went that smoothly in those processes that you were talking about. So how much can you share about the failures you have gone through, and how did you tackle them?
Yeah, I will share a couple of things that come to my mind, and I'll share with you even where we are today, right? Because as the company is a living organism where we hire new people, industry happens, pandemic happens, right? Everything is, we also stay relevant in the sense that we update our processes and programs, and we look back into our EVP just to make sure it's still, as I told you, true, right? Is it still relevant? So when we completed that employer branding workshop and we started project and we started launching slowly and carefully the EVP internally, training our managers, embedding it in different processes, we found out that we have something that I called our blessing and our curse at the same time. Because what happened is, through validating our policies and processes and creating them so they're in accordance with the EVP, the transformation element, we have an internal mobility policy. So people are encouraged and they're supported to apply internally for different positions so they can transform their career if they want to start a new project or new technology. And we were really excited to work on that internal mobility policy and popularize it even more. However, what we started realizing, talking to employees and talking to managers, is our teamwork, which is our strongest factor in our engagement. This is something that really is the fundamental of our DNA at Progress, is the ability to work as a team, and your loyalty and your passion to work with your team turn out to be also like a blocker and hindering that internal mobility. Because at some point people were saying, Maria, I'm so loyal to my team that I feel like a traitor if I change and I go to work for another product or another team. And at some point people were even feeling more comfortable, leaving the company versus disappointing their manager or disappointing their team because they changed their teams, right? And we started working with the managers to change that stigma, to change that environment, because we would only be successful through that transformation and people being fungible and flexible to try new things, right? To develop themselves. So that was one of those moments where you think, oh yes, teamwork is amazing. Everybody loves working here. They love their teams. And at some point you realize that some of the programs you develop, that piece of your strongest area of your culture might actually be a blocker in that process. Now I'm happy to say that we moved that past point, and internal mobility is one of our best channels to fill in open positions. But it's just interesting how we changed for 2.5 years.
That's quite an interesting example and a twist. I would say I wouldn't expect that, especially that what you said, that some people were preferring to leave the company instead of like disappoint their managers and team members. And in this regard, what is the first of all, how do you differentiate between management and leadership, and also what is the type of leadership that you want to foster within Progress?
Oh, that's a very, very big question for sure. Differentiating between leadership and management, I think every person can be a leader, regardless whether they have people reporting into them or not, right? You can lead and inspire through your work, through projects that you develop. You can be that mentor and somebody people look up to as a leader, regardless if they're reporting to you or not. And there is additional responsibility and accountability when you actually manage a team, where you are that manager where you need to combine leadership skills plus actually managing the work and be responsible and accountable for that work that comes from the combined efforts of the team. At Progress, for the past maybe 6 years, we've put a lot of attention into supporting, partnering, and developing our leaders and managers in the company. Because even at the Telerik times, the company was in rapid growth. We were growing teams, hiring people, and we started since then actually creating leadership programs that develop their management skills. Today, I would say the biggest descriptor, the one descriptor I would say about the leadership at Progress is it's authentic. We partner and we support managers to uncover their authentic self, who made them what they are today, what professional experience they have, what's their personality, and also think about the authenticity of the people they manage, right? Understand that you manage different people with different characters, with different mindsets and different strengths and weaknesses. So one approach doesn't fit all when you manage. And we have created a program that supports management through leading self. So understanding myself as a leader, who am I, what are my skills, leading the team, managing that team, right? And then leading organization. Because regardless at what level in the company you are, what manager level you are, at Progress, we believe that you always need to be looking how you manage upward, how you manage your organization, how my work fits into the bigger piece. So that's, I think, what's helping us today in the pandemic, because our managers are authentic. They know their people, they understand that everybody has a different situation, because the balance between personal and professional today is so thin that you as a manager, you shouldn't just understand the professional aspect of that employee, who they are as a job level, job skills, strengths, weaknesses, and so on and so forth, but also who's that person, what is happening in their personal life today, how can you support them. So I think that's helping a lot to keep the company and the engines running and the people staying productive and engaged. It's our authentic leadership of our people.
Absolutely. I think a keyword here would be also emotional intelligence. And I think that we will have this discussion much more often in the future. What's the type of leadership that really fosters successful organizations? And I think it would be great if we manage to somehow transfer the mindset that has been accumulated in the tech industry in Bulgaria in particular to other sectors where this discussion is fairly early on, based on observations, like very uh, basic observations, but still. Maria, I have one last question for you, and it's quite an interesting one to ask in this whole context that we are. Here it is. So just before the lockdown, we had a very interesting discussion hosted and trending topics. It was about the ping pong tables and the office massages, and it was basically about what motivates the best talent to work for a certain organizations. And kind of the underlying thesis was, come on, it's not the massages at all. So given that new situation, what do you think that will be the employee benefits and perks that will really matter in the new normal?
Yeah, um, definitely. I don't think that the ping pong tables are, keeping the employees part of the company they're working for. And I think in the today's situation where the office is not relevant for the past 2.5 months, um, it turned out that much different things are important for people, for them to stay engaged and to feel appreciated by the company. Because now that you don't have those massages, you don't have the office comfort, you don't have the new buildings, right? What is making people engaged and happy? For me, that leadership that I mentioned to you is critical for managers and leaders to know how to engage, support, and as you said, be emotionally understanding of what's the situation in front of them. The other piece that we see now is relevant is mental health support, uh, providing employees with webinars or other ways of supporting them handle the ambiguity, handle the unknown, and the fact that they need to balance between their kids studying next to them, their work, and it's a new setup for them to get used to. So we're offering a lot more of those. And one of the pieces that's really important right now is we have a kids center on site in our office building, and usually around 50 and 60 kids attend that kids center, that is free for our employees. And now the materials that they develop and the fact that they actually help even online, I think is a tremendous help for all the parents, because right now kindergartens didn't work until, schools are closed. So actually the fact that we have those teachers who are able to, even for a couple of hours, entertain those kids is of tremendous help. So I think companies should be looking and exploring into helping the employees not only handle the workload and the work related um, challenges, but also provide more and more support, looking into their employees as true humans, right? With their personal commitments, with their personal situations, and providing support and benefits for the people to feel that they balance as humans their 8, 10, 12 hours into the day.
Right. That would have been a great ending if there was not another burning question that I just came up with, and I had to ask, what is Maria Atanasova's goal within Progress for 2020? I guess it has changed many times since the beginning of the year, since so many things happened, but probably there are some things that don't change that much.
Wow. My my goal for the year as a professional in progress is to actually find a way to keep that partnership that we have built alive even virtually, because I truly miss how I sit on my desk and somebody comes by and says, I need 5 minutes of your time, I need to check something with you, or Maria, can I pick your brain? Or I miss how we were collaborating and working and people were coming to me proactively. Now you think about that person when something really is important, but I miss that brainstorming element of my partnership. So I'm thinking and I'm working towards creating a cadence and even using the right tools to remain that true partner to the managers and the people I work with in that virtual environment. I think that's my goal, and I haven't figured it out yet. When I do, I'll let you know how it goes.
Right, I think we'll definitely have occasions to continue that conversation, as there are so many topics that could be explored. Thank you, Maria. It was quite an inspirational conversation and very interesting to look inside the organization and see what is behind those awards for Best Employer. With that, thank you and talk to you soon.
Thank you so much for your time, Alex, as well. Talk to you soon.